Wake up. It's Saturday. It's a beautiful day to be alive. And you know what that means. 7-7 Talk Sports. Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to week 8 of 7-7 Talk Sports. I am your host, Dorico Gaither, aka 7-7 Talk Sports. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on into it, man. We're just going to go ahead and start this thing right on off. I want to talk about some marquee games this week. Y'all know the formula, man. Y'all know how we do. Let me also start off by saying, hey, again, thank y'all for the support. Thank y'all for liking, sharing, subscribing. You can catch me at IG at 7-7 Talk Sports. Hey man, check me out, man. I'm on IG. I'm on my YouTube page at 7-7 Talk Sports. And that's what we talking, man. We talking sports. Y'all know I love the game of football and other sports. So this is a great time of year, especially for sports. You have baseball going on. You know, you got as we speak today, you got the National League Championship Series and the American League Championship Series going on at the same time. You got the NFL going on, and the NBA season will be starting on Tuesday. So, hey, this is a great time for sports, man. So y'all buckle in, you know what I mean, and just enjoy what you're watching and root hard for your teams. So for week 8, we're going to jump right on in here and talk about these college games and whatnot to start the formula off for this Saturday. So we got the big games that's jumping out this week for me. The first game I want to talk about is definitely I want to talk about the matchup of number 5 Georgia going on the road tonight to take on the number 1 Texas Longhorns, and that game is going to be played in Austin, Texas. So, this is going to be an interesting game to watch. It's really going to be an interesting game, and I'm very excited about watching this game because when I look at it, I see that I got concerns on both sides. So let's go ahead and let's start with Georgia. And my concern about Georgia, and for all my Georgia fans that are watching this, I have a question for y'all. So you're led by Carson Beck, who's a starting quarterback for Georgia, right? He's in year 2 of being a starter. But here's my question. I want you to name me what signature win that Carson Beck has as the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia. Oh, yeah, I'll say it again. Name me the signature win that Carson Beck has as the starting quarterback for the University of Georgia. He doesn't have one. So if you go back and you think about it, right? Georgia was undefeated last year. They were trying to go for a three-peat. They were trying to win their 3rd straight national championship. And what happened? They ended up losing to Alabama in the SEC championship game. Yeah, they bounced back, and they beat a Florida team that they were playing with basically the junior varsity squad, right? And you look at this year, right? Again, Carson Beck had a chance to get a signature win as the starting quarterback for Georgia when they went to Tuscaloosa and they lost to Alabama. So this game, to me, this is going to be the Carson Beck game if Georgia expects to win this game. Because number one, Georgia cannot run the football right now. They are struggling running the football. They're not even averaging, if I'm not mistaken, I think Georgia may not even be averaging 90 yards a game running the football. So, Texas is going to, with that defensive line that they have, Texas is going to force Georgia to try to run the football. And when Georgia can't run the football, the question now is going to become, does Carson Beck have it in him to get that signature win and lead Georgia to this win? And I just don't think that they can do it because he has no excuse. He has all the talent around him. He's got everything around him. He's playing with an outstanding defense. He's got playmakers outside. He's got running backs. But the problem is, once again, if you take away the running game from Georgia and you say, hey, Carson Beck, you're going to have to beat us. I don't feel confident that Carson Beck can do it. So I'm going to take Texas to win this ball game tonight in a very close ball game. I think it is going to be somewhat of a defensive struggle a little bit, but I think Texas is going to do what they need to do. They're going to make plays with Quinn Ewers. And now let me say this. I'm not all the way sold on Quinn Ewers neither as the quarterback, but I believe Quinn Ewers is going to make just enough plays. And with, the home field advantage of playing at home and everything tonight, I think that Texas is going to do what they need to do, and they're going to, they're going to get out of there with a victory tonight. But I like Texas in a very close ball game. And hey, now, if you're Georgia, if you lose this ball game tonight, do you still have an opportunity to make it to the college football playoff? I believe you do if you lose this game tonight, because when you look at it, your only two losses at the time, if you do lose tonight, you can say your two losses were both to one was to Alabama on the road and one was to Texas on the road. But your margin for error, if you lose this game tonight, Georgia, is going to be razor thin. You're really going to have to finish out strong down the stretch. So I'm going to go with Texas tonight. And again, like I told y'all last week, if you would have asked me in the offseason who I would have thought at this point in the season the number one team in the SEC would be, the first two teams I would have said to you were either going to be Georgia or Alabama. And this is coming from an Auburn fan. But I would have said that the first two teams would have been Georgia and Alabama. And it's crazy because Texas right now is the class of the SEC and their first full season as planned as a member of the Southeastern Conference. But I like Georgia tonight to win this game and whatnot in a very close matchup, a defensive matchup early, but I just think Texas is going to make plays down the stretch. So my Georgia fans, yeah, I know, I know that's not what you want to hear, but I do like Texas to win this ball game tonight. The second game I want to talk about is also, I want to definitely talk about the matchup today, which is a coin flip game. Really, it's really a coin flip game. You have Alabama going to Knoxville to play Tennessee, a matchup of number 7 Alabama versus number 11 Tennessee. And the reason why I call this game a coin flip, if you look at both teams within the last 3 weeks, it's really been up and down when you look at it for the last 3 weeks for both teams. So number one, let's start with Alabama. Alabama started off, rolling over everybody. They was doing what they needed to do, easy peasy, right? So, when you look at it, Bama beat Georgia at home, right? And then the very next week, they go to Vanderbilt and they lose to Vanderbilt 40-35, right? And then last week, they survived a home game against South Carolina. They beat South Carolina 27-25. But I'm going to tell you my problem with Alabama, right? It's defensively. We all know, for those that have been following Alabama football, especially for the last, I'll say maybe, 10 years, during the Saban era and whatnot, Alabama was a defensive stalwart. That's what they were known for. They will beat you defensively. Hey, they may not always bring the A game on the offensive side, but you knew that you were in for a dogfight week in and week out, based off of Alabama's defensive front and their matchups that they will give you. That hasn't been the case this year. Alabama is not the same Alabama defensively right now. I don't know if it's because, you got a brand new coaching staff with Kalen DeBoer and those guys, but I just don't know. I don't really know what's going on, but you're still playing with Nick Saban's guys. So I don't know where the disconnect is coming from. And then on the opposite side, when you look at Tennessee started off the season just rolling over their opponents, right? They were doing what they needed to do. But then when you look at it, you know, Tennessee, they lost to Arkansas on the road, right? After coming off a bye week. They lost to Arkansas. Well, first let me back up. They go to Norman, Oklahoma, and they beat Oklahoma 25-15, right? And which I said at the time that I thought that Tennessee would win the game. I just thought that it was going to be a close ball game, which it was. So they beat Oklahoma 25-15 in Norman. Then they go on a bye week. They come off the bye week and they lose to Arkansas on the road 19-14, right? And then last week, they beat a Florida team, at home 23-17. Now you got to say to yourself with that Florida win, I mean, with the win over Florida last week, Billy Napier kind of gifted Tennessee that game last week, right? So coming into this game right now, this is truly, truly a coin flip when you look at Tennessee and when you look at Alabama. Now, if you look at it, the question that I have on the defensive side from Tennessee, are they going to try to play are they going to try to mirror what South Carolina did against Alabama last week? They brought a lot of pressure. The DBs were very handsy on the wide receivers and whatnot. And so now, we all know going into this thing, Jalen Milroe, whenever he's in trouble, Jalen Milroe was looking for number 2, Ryan Williams, right? And shout out to Ryan Williams real quick. The young man is 17 years old. He is technically supposed to be a high school senior this year. And this young man is coming out there doing his thing as a freshman, right? Big time college football in the SEC, and this young man is doing his thing. So shout out to Ryan Williams. The future is very bright for this young man at the University of Alabama. But today, man, this one is just too hard to call. It's really too hard to call. I want to say I want to go with Alabama, but then again, I also want to say I want to go with Tennessee because of home field advantage. But I'm going to be honest with you with this one right here, man. And again, this pains me to say that, but hey, we got to keep it 100 here on this show as we always will do. I'm going to go with Alabama to get out of there with by their nose hairs. I'm going to go with Alabama to get out of Knoxville with a win today and everything. And I like Alabama on the road. I like for them to just do what they need to do, make plays, get out of there. And I wouldn't be surprised if this game came down to a field goal late. And I think that Alabama's going to do what they need to do. They're going to make enough plays down the stretch to get out of there and survive another week. Because I tell you, once again, another loss in SEC play for both of these teams is detrimental right now. Because, the SEC is really, it's a bloodbath right now in the SEC. That's the best way to say it. This 16-team format that the SEC has. And I'm telling y'all, man, just it's no East or West division. It's just the top 2 teams are going to Atlanta to represent in the SEC championship game. And I'm telling you, man, it's been a bloodbath right now. So, but I do like Alabama to get out of Knoxville today with a win. And that's really going to be a good game to see. So, make sure y'all tune in. That game is scheduled to kick off at 3:30 Eastern time and everything. And then, of course, you got the prime time game tonight with Georgia and with Texas going on with that. So now I'm a step off on the ledge here a little bit. So y'all, hey, somebody catch me if I drop too far down, right? So my upset special for today, right? I actually got 2 of them. And one of them, yeah, I'm being a homer because I still believe in Auburn. And I think that we're finally going to turn this thing around, right? I like Auburn going on the road today to upset Missouri. Yeah, I think the unranked Tigers are going to finally put it together, right? They've had a bye week. I just really think that they're finally going to put it together. The ball is finally going to start bouncing our way. Auburn's going to make plays late. I think that, they're definitely going to incorporate Jarquez Hunter a whole lot more. But I like Auburn to upset Missouri today in Columbia, Missouri. I don't care if it's a 10-7 ball game. I don't care. I just really want Auburn to get out of there with the win. And hopefully this can springboard Auburn, to have a strong finish down the stretch. So that's my upset special number 1. And then my second upset special today is I like Louisville to upset Miami. So you got Miami going into Louisville today. If I'm not mistaken, Miami's ranked number 6, if I'm not mistaken, going into Louisville to play Louisville. So when you look at both of these teams, that's really another coin flip type game. Because when you look at it, Miami should have 2 losses that they don't have, but they really, you could say Miami should have lost to Cal when they flew out there to the West Coast. When we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, they started off slow. But but they did what they needed to do. Cam Ward, who is truly legitimately a Heisman Trophy candidate right now. He's been playing great football all year. He did what he needed to do to lead those boys down the stretch, and they got that win in Cal. And but then you also look at the Virginia Tech game. Yes, the kid from Virginia Tech, he caught the ball, but even though it was overruled at the end and said that he didn't catch it, and Miami was able to get out of there with a victory against Virginia Tech. And then when you look at Louisville, Louisville has two losses by a total of 11 points. So, you could clearly say that Louisville could be coming into this game. They should be 6-0. So I like Louisville to upset Miami today. I think Miami has just been living on the edge just a little bit too much, right? But I like Louisville to get the upset victory today and whatnot. So those are my two upset specials. Hey, we're gonna scream War Eagle. As Auburn, I'm predicting that Auburn will beat Missouri, and I'm predicting that Louisville will upset Miami today. So, those are my marquee games on the college side for today. But hey, we're getting closer and closer, man. Like teams are going to start bowing out because of just what's been happening. So this 12 team playoff, it's a beautiful thing for college football because now you're giving everybody a realistic shot. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. Like I say again, just because you're number one right now, that doesn't mean that you're going to finish up number one at the end of the year. And sometimes being number one hasn't really been a good thing. Like I said, exhibit A and B. Take a look at Georgia, who was number one, right? They went down to Alabama. Take a look at Alabama. Alabama was number one. They lost at Vandy, right? So Texas right now is still carrying the weight of being number one. They were able to dominate Oklahoma last week in the Red River Shootout. So they're still carrying the weight of being number one. But you got to ask yourself, is that a good thing to be number one right now? Right. So so those are my wrap up games and whatnot for for on the college side for this week and everything. But y'all make sure y'all enjoy those games, man. So now, of course, we want to go ahead and turn our attention to the NFL, right? So believe it or not, y'all, right now we have to say that the best division, right, in the National Football League right now is the NFC North, where you have Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay, and Chicago. The NFC North right now, as we speak today, is the only division out there that all four teams have a winning record, right? I'm not talking about, and no team is at 500. We ain't talking about no even record. We're talking about a winning record. All four teams in the division have a winning record right now, right? So the big matchup for in the NFL in week 7 for for tomorrow, excuse me, is going to be the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Detroit Lions. Surprisingly, Minnesota is the only undefeated team that's in the NFL. No, I'm sorry. Minnesota and Kansas City are the only two undefeated teams right now in the NFL. And when you look at Minnesota going against Detroit, y'all saw what Detroit did to Dallas, my Dallas Cowboys, right? Y'all saw what Detroit did to them, and it was not a shock. Honestly, I really wish that Detroit would have put 60 up on Dallas. I mean, hey, let's just call it like we see it. I wish Detroit would have put 60 up on Dallas. And they clowned Dallas. They made Dallas look like fools. Detroit is the real deal, y'all. I'm telling y'all that right now. Detroit is the real deal. Dan Campbell got those young men ready to run through walls, and they are ready to embarrass you because they want to out physical you. They want to just be the most dominant physical football team that you've seen, right? And so I like Detroit to give Minnesota their first L on the year. Now, let me say this about Minnesota's defense. Brian Flores, who was once the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, right? Brian Flores has the defense for Minnesota playing outstanding football. Their defense has only given up the second fewest amount of points in the league at this point. Minnesota has given up 76 points coming into tomorrow's game, right? They only trail the LA Chargers, who've given up 66 points, right, at this point in the season. But I think Detroit is going to do what they need to do. I'm still, and I know this sounds crazy, still not sold on Jared Goff yet, right? But I think Jared Goff has enough players, enough playmakers around him. Detroit is going to run the football. They're going to be more physical. And I like Detroit to steal a victory, against Minnesota and whatnot tomorrow in a very key NFC North matchup. The next game I want to talk about is a game that I'm definitely going to be paying attention to, and two very good young quarterbacks that I think that we're going to be calling these guys greats, and I'll probably say in about the next 2 to 3 years. And that is the matchup of the Houston Texans against the Green Bay Packers. You have C.J. Stroud leading the Houston Texans into Lambeau Field, and they will be taking on Jordan Love and the boys in Green Bay. And so, this is going to be a very good matchup, man. I've told y'all before, I got a lot of respect for Houston, and I really love what D'Amico Ryans is doing as a first-year head coach and everything, man. And love what Jordan, I love what C.J. Stroud has been doing as well. Like I really love that young kid as a quarterback, man. I said before that the Carolina Panthers messed up because they should have drafted C.J. Stroud, but they went with Bryce Young. And I mean, hey, the rest is history. You've seen how all that's turned out and everything. Even though the Carolina Panthers have, they've played games, a lot of games with Bryce Young. So, hopefully Bryce Young can get can get sent somewhere, man, and get the opportunity to shine because the young man has talent. But back to CJ Stroud. I think that CJ Stroud has been playing some great football. Like CJ Stroud really could have been in the talks for MVP last year, right? He really should have been in the MVP talks last year because the young man played that great he had that great of a rookie season. And Jordan Love, man, Jordan Love is just another young great quarterback, who's phenomenal talent and whatnot. So I'm really going to be interested in both these matchups. But, to take a pick on this game, I think I'm going to have to go with Houston, because, again, I just love what D'Amico Ryans and his staff is doing defensively, with Will Anderson and the boys and everything on the defensive side of the football. And I think Houston is going to make plays. They're going to do what they need to do. They've been able to pull close games out, both last season and early this season. So that's a real good thing for a young football team that's growing and maturing, and they know that they could win a close game. So I like Houston in this matchup this week, but it's just really going to be a hell of a matchup between C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love. Just watching those two young quarterbacks get after it. My next game I want to talk about is I y'all heard my rant last week, right? About this particular franchise and whatnot, and how y'all know how I feel about them. So I want to talk about the Jets and the Steelers. That's the Sunday night game. You got the New York Jets going into Pittsburgh, right? So this game is taking on some interesting storylines from both sides. I mean, yeah, we already know what's going on with the Jets. They fired their head coach Robert Saleh last week. They ended up losing the game on Monday night, which did not surprise me because I felt they was going to lose to Buffalo. And so what did they do? They went out and they made a big splash, which was really not surprising because you saw it coming as well too. They go out and they trade for Devontae Adams. So now the question that I have for the Jets is that now you have Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers, right? So there shouldn't be any more excuses. Nobody wants to hear any more excuses. You went out, you got your guy. So now, everybody's talking about all the past history of them, what they did while they were in Green Bay. Okay, I get it. But what people got to understand about that is that the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. That's what the NFL is, right? So you go out and you go get Devontae Adams. So now the Jets have basically said, we got all our chips pushed in the middle of the table. We going all in for it, right? But you're still a 2-4 football team, right? So now you have to win Sunday night. And the reasons why, I'm gonna tell you the reasons why I don't think they're going to win, but you have to win on Sunday night. So now, before I go into deeper on why I think the Jets are not going to win the ball game, let's talk about the decision that was made in Pittsburgh. So now you have Justin Fields. You get Justin Fields from Chicago for basically a handshake and a basically a handshake. You get him for nothing basically. And Justin Fields comes out and he's led Pittsburgh to a 4-2 record, right? So the decision has been made that Russell Wilson will be starting on Sunday against the Jets. I got a lot of love and respect for Mike Tomlin. You know what I'm saying? Again, Mike Tomlin is the only head coach that has yet to have a losing season as a head coach in the NFL, right? So, but Mike Tomlin, I'm not understanding why you're making that move at this particular point. Because the thing about it is this, right? Russell Wilson, yeah, he had a real good year last year, his last year in Denver. He threw for 26 touchdowns against 8 picks, right? But also at the same time, though, Russ really can't move like he used to be able to move. And he's coming off of a hamstring injury. So I don't know if you're setting Russ up for failure or if you're setting him up for success. Because if you were going to put Russell Wilson back in the starting lineup, I think the best game would have been against the Giants instead of doing it against the Jets because the Jets can bring pressure, right? And yeah, you have Justin Fields, and Justin Fields, if nothing else is working downfield, if he can't get the football off, he still is a weapon with his legs. That's something that Russell Wilson is not right now. So if I was the head coach, if I was on that coaching staff, I would really be going back and forth with Mike Tomlin and say, hey, no, we need to keep Fields in because, hey, we're 4-2 football team, right? We still got matchups on the calendar against Baltimore, who we haven't seen yet, right? We still got some more division games against Cleveland and against Cincinnati, right? So right now, this division is still kind of for the taking because when you look at it, Baltimore is starting to get a little hot themselves right now because Baltimore's won 4 straight. So I think now this was the wrong time to make that to pull Justin Fields and put Russell Wilson in the ball game. But I still like what the defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers is doing. I still like for Pittsburgh to do what they need to do to get out of there with the win against the Jets because I think that they're going to bring a lot of pressure. And I just honestly don't think that the Jets offensive line can sustain the pressure and they're going to get after Aaron Rodgers, right? So I like the Steelers to win this ball game at home. And I know a lot of y'all are probably going to say, "Oh, he's just a Jets hater." No, I'm not a Jets hater. I'm not a Jets hater at all. But I'm just looking at what I'm seeing, and again, it's just some issues out there with the Jets that are still there. The Jets really aren't running the football like they should, right? And the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to send different blitz packages, and they're going to come after Aaron Rodgers. And if they start to hit Aaron Rodgers early, because one of the matchups that you have to take a look at is Watt going against Tyron Smith. And Tyron Smith is the left tackle, and Tyron Smith had a terrible game against Buffalo on Monday night. So you know that Watt is licking his chops. You know what I'm saying? They might flip him around on both sides to just let him cause havoc a little bit. So I like Pittsburgh in a close game with that one, man. And so yeah, so those are my and I'm sorry. And one last game I want to talk about, which is going to be an interesting one as well. You have on Monday night, you have the 4-2 Ravens taking on the 4-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, you're going to have Todd Bowles' defense going up against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens offense. Now, we know the Ravens want to run the football. We know that's what they want to do. They've now started to incorporate Derrick Henry into the running game a whole lot more. And, so Todd Bowles is going to have his defense ready, but I, I'm going to go with Baltimore because I just don't know if Tampa is going to have enough to stop, the running game that were, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and what the Ravens want to do. Now, I think it's going to be a close ball game. I think you're really going to see that because, Baltimore's defense is starting to pick it up a little bit more. They're still not the defense that we're used to seeing coming out of Baltimore, but they're starting to pick it up a little bit. So I think that I'm going to go with the Ravens. Uh, you know, to beat Tampa Bay in a close game on Monday night in Tampa. So, and one of the last couple of things, man, that I want to talk to y'all about real quick. I want to switch gears, and again, man, the WNBA. Oh my goodness, y'all, the WNBA, boy, they've not let us down. I hope that y'all have been watching the WNBA finals. This has been a hell of a series between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty, right? So in Game 3, just to give y'all a quick recap. Sabrina Ionescu hit a deep three, like she channeled her inner Steph Curry. And if y'all know anything about Sabrina Ionescu, she actually took on Steph Curry in the 3-point shootout, right? And Sabrina Ionescu, she can shoot the basketball. She definitely can. So she hit a winner. She hit the game winning shot, the game winning three actually. To at the end of Game 3 to give the New York Liberty a 2-1 lead. And then last night was another thriller, and the Minnesota Lynx ended up winning last night's ball game 82-80. So that is a 2-2. It's a 2-2 series with Game 5 happening on Sunday. So man, this is woo! It's winner take all. Game 5 on Sunday between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. So like I've said before, it's just been beautiful basketball to watch. It's truly been beautiful basketball to watch with the WNBA playoffs and whatnot. So they have not let me down at all. And and I'll say to y'all again, you really need to get into the WNBA because I'm telling you, man, the women, they can play. They out here balling for real. They can play. So don't just turn your nose up at the product. Give the product a chance and give it a shot. So the women that they really out here doing their thing, man. And like I said, man, we're getting closer and closer to the World Series. I mean, it's looking right now. The Mets did what they did last night. Shout out to my brother KFC, Kevin Cordone, who's a big time Mister, and is let's say it like this. Shout out to my brother at Mister Met 23. He know who that is, and he's a big time Mets fan and whatnot. So man, the Mets did what they needed to do last night to extend the series. So now they head back to L.A. to take on the Dodgers and whatnot in Game 6. And the Dodgers are up 3-2 in that series. So anything can happen with that, man. It definitely can happen. And I saw that the Yankees extended their lead last night against the Cleveland Guardians. So, hey, we're just it's a beautiful time for sports, man. I mean, like I've said before, it's starting to get a little chilly out there, but it's still a beautiful time for sports. So, man, and then of course on Tuesday night, my Los Angeles Lakers opened up the season against the young and hungry Minnesota Timberwolves. So we're gonna talk a lot more basketball as as the season get going and whatnot because basketball is a grind, man. It's a long year, so we're definitely gonna have conversations about the NBA and whatnot. As the season go along. So that's my talk for today. Again, man, hey, I appreciate everything, man, all the love and all support, man. And like I say to y'all all the time, man, y'all holler at me, man. Y'all come holler at me, man. I appreciate the shares, the support, the likes, the subscribes, everything, man. Keep it going, man. Push it on out there, man, because I'm taking this platform somewhere that it's never been. And I'm just letting y'all know that, man, this is my passion. This is what I love to do. So I appreciate everyone, man, who's here to support, from the start and whatnot. And so, hey, man, y'all grab the remote control. Y'all sit back. Y'all enjoy it. Y'all watch these games and whatnot, man. And like I said, man, and our inspiration for the day, hey, continue to put that one foot in front of the other, man. Hey, keep God first. Keep your head up, put that faith and put that work in, man, and everything is going to be just fine. 7-7 Talk Sports, man, it's Saturday. I'm finna go get this remote control. Your boy's gone, man. Y'all get on out of here. Holla at your boy, man. I'm gone. Out.